Alright guys, so day 3. Let me scoot down again and see my face. Ooh. So we're going to start off with doing the front. So here is your zipper. I'm pretty sure the measurement is in the patterns, but again, I just kind of cut this so that it's a little bit longer than my pattern is. That's just kind of my preference so that you don't have to worry about not catching your zipper. So basically, to put this pull on, right, you want to pick a side, it doesn't particularly matter which one, and divide it in parts. So I know some people will cut one side a little smaller, shorter than the other, so they will line up better, but unless you're doing a double zipper, it doesn't particularly matter. So you're just going to put this one piece on the one side, right, with the round side down, right? This side's going into the zipper. So the round side down, you're going to slide it into one side, just enough to actually be in there. It doesn't have to be perfect. And then you will take your other side and put it in that side. Just kind of push it down a little bit, hold these two back, and then, oops, I missed that one. So sometimes it just takes a little bit of work, right? Even I do these all the time, and sometimes I still have struggle with them sometimes. You kind of just wiggle it back and forth, and then pull them both to the back, and then wiggle it until it gets on there. So mine was a little off, so now my zipper looks like it's a little off. But what you can do is you just pull it to the end, and then pull your zipper parts down there. So now your zipper is good to go. What I will do, so that your zippers don't fray, I just put a little bit of heat to like seal the nylon. I'm not too worried about making these completely even. You actually can do that before you just did your part. So the next part is now to do your front pocket. Yay! So whichever direction you want your zipper to go, okay? So if you want your zipper to go and open from bottom to top, that you need to make sure wherever this opening is, okay? Wherever the opening is, that's where you're going to put either top or bottom. Depending on, there's not a right way or wrong way. I'm going to put mine at the top because I prefer to zip down and then stick my stuff in my pockets. But that is a complete preference thing. There's not a right or wrong way. I know in some patterns it says the zipper should open, right to left, yada yada yada, but really it doesn't particularly matter. A zipper will open either way you put it. So you're gonna just go base this down. I'll show you in just a second. You're going to base it down like a 1/4 of an inch. Your actual seam allowance is 3/8, but you just want to base the zipper in place. So just do that and then come back. Alright, so it should be on there. Just kind of base it in place. This next part, okay, all I gotta say is whenever if you have to move the zipper to sew it down, make sure your needle is down, lift up your presser foot, move the zipper, and then proceed to sew. Your line will stay straight. So I actually watched her video on how to make this, and she mentioned a really cool trick. I refuse to use zipper foots for the longest time, and I even really now don't particularly like them, but I understand the necessary evil part of them. But she actually said a really cool trick to use instead of using a zipper foot is that if you move your needle, if your sewing machine can move the needle, all the way over to the right, and then whenever you go to sew these pieces together, you just kind of bump your presser foot right up against the zipper. It makes for a really straight, smooth line. So we're about to find out because I'm gonna give it a try. So you're going to take, remember how you had to have two opposites, right? So the one, you're gonna put these two right sides together. So basically, you are sandwiching your zipper in between these two layers. And then now you're gonna go sew with 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. So now this is how you had it, right? So now you're going to be careful with your zipper pull. I did move mine really, really close to the edge because I had some space there. So I didn't have to move it when I was sewing it, but just be aware and don't let your zipper pull fall off, okay? So now what you're going to do is you're basically going to line your lining. So just, you know, a few clips. I go get my clips from over there, man. I've been using a lot. And you're just going to kind of push this down. If you're using, I mean, technically you could sew it, I mean, you could iron it now. You can iron waterproof canvas as long as it is not facing the iron. Like long as the right side is not against the iron, you can iron waterproof canvas. But for the most part, you can just kind of finger press this. I just kind of use clips to make sure all of my stuff is lined up on the bottom and that I push my waterproof canvas enough out of the way that when I top stitch it, it's not going to cause issues with my zipper. And I'll flip this over and I'll show you what I mean. So, and it's not just waterproof canvas, it works for anything. But if you don't push this far enough down and then say you have a bump like this, you can see now that it's like obscuring where the zipper is and you'll have a really hard time. Okay, Raven, hang on, close. We'll have a really hard time zipping and unzipping. So just make sure it's pushed as far down as it can go. And that's why I kind of use the clips on the bottom to hold it in place. And then you're just going to top stitch 1/8 of an inch right across here. Alright, so now you can see it's nice and top stitched. This is pushed down enough so my zipper will just go back and forth beautifully. So you can remove your clips now because you don't need them. And basically you're going to repeat this for the upper side. Alright, so you're going to take your upper piece and your zipper. Make sure you do these on the right sides, okay, because I have definitely accidentally sewed these wrong. And you're basically just going to line this up. The only part about this, because your zipper is a little longer, you are kind of just lining it up with the bottom part. So you just want to make sure your edges on each side are matching. I'll show you what I mean in just a second. Oh, put the broken in. Okay, so like we talked about this directional print, right? So you could even just pull this up a little bit, like so. Make sure that it's lined up nicely, that you're not having any big overlap. Like I think I have a little bit of overlap on my side, which is okay. I just need to adjust it a little bit this way. You just want to kind of make sure that these will line up once and make your square, or your rectangle, it's not a square, once you sew them together. There we go. That's better. Maybe just a little bit more. If you made the zipper exactly match, obviously it would be easier. But like I said, you take the chance of not catching your zipper when you go to sew the sides together, and I do not like when that happens. So there we go. That's nice. So now my stuff is all lined up very nicely, right? I like it. It's good. So you're going to do the same thing. You're just going to put a little basting stitch, 1/4 of an inch, and then come on back. So again, you will see pretty good, right? I do have a little bit overage on this side, but I think once I get the rest of my seam allowance in there, it'll be fine. And even if you got to straighten it out a little bit, like this side is perfect, so I'm not too worried about it. Just probably when I cut it. So now you're going to do the same thing. You're going to take your other piece that you had, right? And you're going to put them to where Now you are sandwiching the zipper again. Flip this around. So you basically just try to keep it in line with this other one, like so. And this one, as you can see, is going down. It's going facing downwards, not the same direction as your top piece, so that when you get done, it basically will go like this, and you've created a pocket on this other side. So when you sandwich this, you want to make sure that this part is facing down. Obviously, how things are lined up, there is no other way to do it, but just in case you were to accidentally cut your pattern pieces wrong, it definitely would work if you were to flip it the other direction. So just a little FYI. Just trying to make sure everything is nice and straight as can be. It looks like it, so that's nice. And now you're just gonna go not top stitch, you're gonna go stitch this together with 3/8 of a seam allowance. All right, so now you can see this is on there. I do like her method. I think it worked pretty good. My zipper is really nice and straight. And now you can see this is normal. Okay, do not freak out. This liner is supposed to be shorter than this one. So you're going to kind of do what you just did here. You're just going to go top stitch this down and then move on to the next step. Right, so this is basically almost done. You've got like 2 more steps to go. You can see the zippers are kind of long, so I will cut those down just a little bit. I still like to leave a little bit. But I always like to give myself a little extra because, like we talked about not letting your zipper fall off, I definitely let my zipper fall off and I had to put it back on. Hence why now my zipper is going in a different direction, which is okay. Like I said, there's no wrong or right way. It just happens. It happened at the very end. I was trying to check something. So we all make little errors. And then I like to just run a little stitch right here and then right here when you get done. So your zipper basically won't fall off now while you're doing stuff. You can base this whole thing down after we get done doing this last step. But I don't really find it necessary. So, as you remember we talked about, this is a little longer. You can just take a little marking pin and mark it if you so desire. Totally up to you. But really all I kind of do is pull this back piece down so that you only have your pocket. Put it with the bigger side down and then just kind of cut off that excess. See, no excess, and now my pocket is good, like so. And then you're just going to run a stitch right across here. Basically what this is doing is it's taking it out of the seam allowance. So when we go to sew this, it's not so bulky on the bottom. So go ahead and run a stitch, but what you will do is, oh no, this one, you're just going to do a straight little stitch here, okay? Right, so now you can see, now your front is all done. I sometimes will just trim up my little excess overlap if I have of if I have any of my interfacing showing, so that when I sew this down, it basically won't, I won't think that I'm sewing my actual stuff when it's interfacing. So now you can see it's all nice and squared up. It's really nice, right? This is your front part. All done. So you can put that to the side for now. Next, we are going to work on the pocket that goes on the back piece. And you will see that there is, hold on, I'll show you. Trim that up. Where your magnetic snap is supposed to go. So you want to make sure that you mark this for this one on your lining piece, right? I like to do it on the back side. Oh my side. I actually use a more of an expo marker so that it stays and doesn't get rubbed off while I'm doing stuff. You still don't see it, so it's fine. I just poked a little hole with my seam ripper, just a little hole right here, so that you can then line it up with the piece, pattern piece. And then you're just going to mark where you're going to put your magnetic snap. You're not going to insert your snap yet. You're going to sew these together first because it's a little easier than accidentally running over the magnetic snap. So, but you can see where I put my piece right here. And then you're going to repeat that on the back side back piece too. And you will see here where it also has where you're going to mark where you're going to put your magnetic snap. This is also where you want to have that little piece of foam, decorative heavy. It doesn't particularly matter what you use. It just gives it a little bit of stability for your magnet. So I'm going to line this up, and then I'm going to mark that. I'm not going to make this one as dark. Not that it particularly matters because your magnet goes there. But now you can see where my snap is supposed to go. And it should, when you were to put these together, would line up. So, where is my, this one, the back one you can insert now. I guess I will actually use foam because I lost my little, so I literally just find little scraps that I have. I don't use anything big. I don't really, it had like a bigger piece they wanted to cut for it, but really you just need a small piece like this. So if you take your magnetic snaps, which I have the circles for and not the actual snaps. What did I do with them? See, even when I keep ends, I lose my things. Somehow I have this piece and not my other piece. Well, luckily for me, I have, oh, here they are. They were attached to my thing. So you're going to have a male piece and then a female piece. And you want your female piece to go on the back side. So your female piece is considered the piece that has the indent circle. So usually your bigger one, and you will use these to make your lines. So you see how this has a little circle, right? So you want to match this circle up with the one that you drew on your pattern piece. And then you will take your marker and you will draw the two little lines. And you can do the same thing for your foam piece. So you can see here where I use this as a little circle and then I drew my two little lines. And then you're just going to take your seam ripper and you're going to very, very gently just cut a little tiny line. And this is just so the prongs have somewhere to go. You're also going to do it to your foam piece. So now you will insert your piece whenever you find where you had your little holes. My fabric is black, so it's a little harder. Here we go. If you didn't cut your things big enough, just, you can push a little bit if it's woven, Just be careful, don't push too hard and cause a big rip. And then you can use a little bit of fry check on here, and then you're just going to put your foam piece and then your washer will go over. So the back of your thing should look very similar to this, as you can see. And then you're just going to put it in there, and then you will push it down. So normally, and I will on the other piece, put a piece of tape over my back of this, but because foam is going to go over even on top of this, the back piece is pretty okay. So now your magnet is inserted, so you're good. Now you're going to take your other two pieces that you had before. So this is your exterior, and then this is your liner. Make sure that you are sewing these wrong sides together, and that where you had the magnet marking, as you can see, is at the top, right? Because when we turn this over, when we insert our magnet, we obviously want it on the top of our pocket, not our bottom of our pocket. So then you're going to just sew here with 3/8 of an inch, and then come on back. Okay, so now this is stitched together. So now you will go ahead and don't top stitch first. I mean, you can, but it's just a little easier to separate these like this to get your magnet in there. I went ahead and already marked it, just like we did the other side. So I just kind of put that magnet in there, and then take your foam piece again. I keep losing my stuff, like I'm losing my mind. Good thing I just have scraps all over my floor. And I do not usually have things just laying on my floor. That's just where all my interfacing is, in that bottom cubby. Oh, it was right here. So again, it doesn't have to be super big. And this one, you can put a little piece of tape over it, so you don't necessarily feel it on the back side of your stuff. Usually just a little bit of electrical tape, which I don't know where mine went, so we might just skip it this time. But it's just a little piece of tape, electrical tape, painter's tape, anything really will work. This is, I'm not too worried about it because I did put a piece of foam there and it has waterproof canvas. And now my magnet is in, as you can see. Again, it's okay if one of the pieces is a little bigger than the other. It just probably meant when I was cutting it, it wasn't the best cutting job I did. What really matters is that this top part is lined up. So you could even double check it right now if you wanted before you go top stitch, just to make sure that it lines up okay. And so it's even a little bigger, which is perfect actually. It's mostly, so it does all line up so that it will close properly. So go ahead and go top stitch the pocket real fast and then come on back. So that's all top stitched. You definitely could have still gotten here. You can see where it is. I just kind of like doing it beforehand. There's no wrong or right way. And then now you can just kind of put this with the pocket, and then you can flip it. So now this is attached, right? So this is what your back side will look like. I like to flip it over so that it is wrong side down, and then you can kind of just trim away any of that doesn't necessarily match up very well. if like me, you kind of cut your pocket not completely straight. There. Very nice. Like I said, sometimes you just kind of eyeball it. I can kind of just see. You definitely can just get a ruler too and measure it out. Like this one I can see is a little off right here. I know I should probably just get a ruler and do it, but you know, it happens. Alright, so now I have my back pocket completely done. So again, this one I do suggest basting in place, only because the pocket moves. The other one doesn't really move, it's stationary, but if you were to be a little crooked on this, it would not be a good time. And you also could like fold in half here to make sure the pocket is even on both sides whenever so now I can see, I don't know if y'all can see this, but I basically can line this piece and this piece up to make sure that it is even. Whenever, oh yeah, that's pretty good. When I baste it in place. So you just put a little clip there. And then we'll clip at the bottom, or the other side, so that I know that this is where my pockets will go. And then go ahead and just baste that in place. Alright, now look, I have this beautiful little slip pocket. It is so cool. I can't use my phone because my phone is from filming this video, but you definitely could fit your phone in here, maybe your sunglasses, any of that kind of stuff. So, now we will assemble the front, or now we will assemble the exterior. So go ahead and grab your two side pieces and your front piece. I did something with mine. Huh. Hold on 1 second. It was hiding underneath my thing and a piece of paper. Anyway, so now you have your front, your two sides, your back. We're going to go ahead and assemble that first, and then we'll go over the circle part. So these are the pieces you'll need for right now. And so what you're going to do is that you're going to take one of your side pieces here, and you're going to line it up with the front. So mine is coming up a little bit short, so it could have just been whenever I was sewing the pocket or when I was cutting. So I'd rather take a little bit from the bottom than the top of my side panels, as you can see. So I just clip these together. It's really not a huge deal at all. It could just been when I was assembling. We can even double verify with my back piece. So maybe I just took a little off from my front piece, which is possible because my back piece does line up. So just means that whenever I did my front piece, I just cut it a little short, which is alright. It's not a big deal, totally fixable. What you can do is you take your front piece and your back piece and line them up, and then any little excess that your back piece has, you can just cut it off. Again, this also comes from sometimes I am not the best cutter. And so I definitely do cut things a little wonky sometimes, which is a-okay. I mean, we can even use our pattern piece here and we can see, yeah, that I would just off by a tad bit. But it will not make much of a difference when it comes to sewing the pattern together. It didn't make it any smaller. So now they're even Steven. Almost even Steven. Now they're all even, Steven. So now that, sorry, these are now the same. Like I said, everyone makes little boo-boos. It is not a big deal. Still take your pattern piece, attach it to the side here. And honestly, if it is like, see, this one matched perfectly. So again, it was just me sewing a little wrong. Not a huge deal at all. So now what we're going to do is you're going to sew this down with 3/8 of an inch and then come on back. Alright, I was on autopilot, and so you see, stitch these together and then you're going to stitch it down with 1/8 of a seam top stitching. And basically you're going to repeat this for the other side. Again, if your piece is a little long, not a huge deal. Just line up the top portion and then you can trim off the bottom portion. So again, you're just going to clip it to the side and then repeat for the other side with sewing down and top stitching. Alright, so now this part's all done, and so basically you're just going to repeat the same thing for the back. So I'm going to go ahead and just knock out both of them at one time and then we can move on to the next step. But basically you're just going to do exactly what you did to the front and you're going to attach the back. So again, you're just going to line it up. Oops, I almost did that wrong. Right sides together. Line up the top first, so if you do have a little bit of overlap, it is at the bottom, which I do not, so that is good. And go ahead and sew the two pieces down, and then come back. Okay, so don't be like me and almost mess up. I'm definitely going to try to edit this video. If not, I definitely will put a disclaimer in there that I actually do not sew up this other side. You should have a piece looks like this, and this is when you will take your foam that you have and put it on top of your piece, and you're going to go basically baste this in place all the way around, all four sides, and then come on back. I am so sorry, guys. So to reiterate, you're going to do the front side, then you will only do one side of the back side, then you will take your foam and you will baste it all in place. So go ahead and do that and then come on back. Alright, I'm so sorry about that, guys. So again, here's your foam, stitch down. I do zigzag up here just because it compresses the foam a little more. I did do a straight stitch here only because I do plan on cutting it out of the seam allowance. So now you can just kind of, if you had a little bit of excess foam, just kind of trim that down a little bit. Mostly so that when you do go to sew this together, you're not sewing foam thinking you're sewing the bag. Ask me how I know. So alright, so most of this is all trimmed down for the most part. So now you're going to fold this and line the two end pieces up like so, and clip in place, and you're going to sew with, again, 3/8 of a seam allowance. Stuck to my foam. Story of my life. So then go ahead and stitch down right here. Again with 3/8 and then come on back. Alright, so now that you have this, you're going to go ahead and move the basting stitches you had from the foam so that you can cut. You don't have to do this. This just makes it a little more less bulky on your seam. So you're just going to remove the basting stitches from each side. And then trim out your foam. And then you'll have to do this with, it's a little tricky, but it's doable, I promise. It is completely doable. You're going to top stitch this down, again, towards the side panels. I'm just going to use some scissors. Just be careful and don't cut through your other stitching that you have. Like I said, this is not necessary. You don't have to do this. It does make it lay down way nicer. Oops, I didn't move them all down here. And not so much bulk on your seam. But again, not actually necessary to do. I do kind of like the method she did of basically putting your whole pattern together, then adding your foam so that you weren't sewing through lots of foam layers everywhere. So that part was kind of nice. So definitely something I liked. And then just go ahead and do it on the back side too. About time to sharpen my scissors. I did not get it all the way out of this side down here, and I definitely don't want it in the top part, so there we go. So When you sew this down, you're going to sew with it kind of down like this, and then it pushed down. You would just kind of pull this out of the way as you go down. I promise it's doable. Just go really, really slow, and definitely push your seam allowance towards the side here. So go ahead and do that and come on back. All right, now it is all sewed together. It is top stitched, as you can see right here. Oh, if you guys can see it. So I definitely did top stitch it down. I don't want to flip it out because then I would have to flip it back around. So now what you're going to do is you're going to find all of your middle basically you're about to quarter this, okay? That's all you're doing. You're going to quarter it and then call it a good day. So again, we're just going to put little snips. Where are my other scissors? Little snips at all the quarter markings. So basically, you're going to fold these in half. And you're going to line up where these side ones meet, and then these side ones meet. And then you're going to fold it in half this way and push these two together, which should generally be where you're going to do that for the top and the bottom. You can use scissors. I don't know where my nice scissors are, so I am just using my seam ripper, which also works just fine. And you can do that for the top, and like I said, and the bottom. This is, you don't necessarily have to do the top now. I just do because I'm already doing it. And it will just help you later whenever you go to do this. Right, and then you're going to prep. Right, so now we're ready to sew the circle, right? So this is, we're literally almost done. All we have left is to sew this bad boy. So I have my Decaville heavy on here, and now I'm going to take my foam and I am going to base this all in place. So now here's my circle. Again, you're going to do the same thing as you did with your top or with your bag, and you are going to find all of its quarter marks, and you can mark it with a pencil too, or a pen instead of folding it like I am. That's all personal preference, really. Don't worry about it creasing your cork because it will be pushed back out, so no worries there. Right, now I have my 4 marks. You're going to match those up with the 4 marks you made on your bag. Make sure that you are sewing this the correct way, which I'm glad I said it because I definitely was not. So make sure you're sewing your circle to the bottom portion. is a little bulky, so just be aware. It is okay. I promise you that it will fit. I guess I could put this where y'all can actually see me, huh? Alright, so now that you have those down, now you're just going to go around and you're just going to kind of fit it into place. My phone is dying. I didn't realize it was not plugged in. So now you're just going to kind of pin it all in place here, making it fit nicely into your curves. Oh, that's why I was like, why is that one so off? I see now. There we go. That's better. So clip, clip, clip. That's all I have to say. Just clip it, clip it, clip it. A lot of people will run a basting stitch around the, like hand basting it. I, like I said, don't like basting, but it is very beneficial for things like this. I actually a lot of times will use a stapler, which actually I might do now. It just helps hold your stuff in place. The only thing is with a stapler sometimes it can get a little bulky, so it's a little hard, but it definitely will help hold all of your things in place. Alright, so as you can see, like I said, I do use a stapler. So you can just, wherever you're, just make sure that if you use staples that you are stapling within the seam allowance so that you can easily cut it out. So it just makes it a little easier for you. But for curves, I definitely suggest basting or doing what I'm doing now and stapling, because curves can definitely get a little tricky. I'm probably putting more staples in here than I really need, but I want to be sure that all of my stuff stays lined up nice and pretty like. And then just double check you didn't do anything weird. Oops, I need two more. And then, so you can see how now I have staples on here. So it's pretty solid. I mean, obviously if I push super hard, my staples would come out. But now this way, I don't have clips in my way. I can just kind of sew it all the way around, and it's pretty solid in there. So go ahead and sew very slowly, 3/8 of a seam allowance, all the way around. Alright, so you can see I have my bottom all sewed on. Just kind of look down, make sure nothing is wrong. It looks like I actually made myself a little tiny crease right here with my cork, which is okay. It's not really gonna hurt the bag any, but if you wanted to fix something like that, you basically are just kind of glancing down in there, making sure nothing is fucked up. I'm going to fix mine only because it does bother me that it's like that. But you don't have to. It's not really a big deal. Basically, I just caused a little tiny bend in my cork when I was sewing. So I will just fix that. But then after that, y'all are basically done. All you're going to do is trim the seam out around here. And day 3 is complete, guys. So you can see I just kind of took some pinking shears after I fixed my little boo-boo. So all the way around here, make sure I cut all my staples out, or if you didn't get them, make sure you remove them. But other than that, you are all done. Just clean up your strings a little bit and you should be all set. So I'll see y'all tomorrow.